into different chapters. We have, so almost we have 50 plus chapters, and regularly we are increasing our chapters. So our recent chapters will be in Bharuch area, where I have a factory there. So in the next month we will be inaugurating that. So even in the far northeast also we don't have the presence of ISTD, but subsequently now we are also having our ISTD chapter at Assam and Mizoram also. So anyway, then what we do is I call upon everyone, who are not the members of the ISTD to become a member of the ISTD. The life membership for this ISTD is somewhere around 9,500 rupees, but the benefit what we get is really good. Basically, it's a platform of L&D professionals, so we get a chance to network. We have regular evening sessions nowadays. It's not only for Mumbai chapter, but all the chapters, they conduct such evening programs for 1 hour or 1.5 hours, and it's all free. Anyone can join any chapter's program, and it's circulated. Then at a chapter level, we always have the chapter conference, which is 1 day or 2 days. We have the regional conferences, we have the national conferences, and we are also affiliated with the International Society of Training and Development. So before going, I will really welcome Dr. Rani, and I will introduce her. She's a seasoned professional with 30 years of experience in human capital management, having worked across a wide range and diverse and multicultural organizations. Her career spans sectors such as information technology, engineering, design services, and Big Four consulting firms. Throughout her career, Dr. Desai has held the position of Global Human Resource Head, overseeing HR operations in regions including United States, Europe, and Asia Pacific. As a member of executive committee with various business leadership teams, Dr. Desai has developed a deep understanding of business operations, strategies, and execution. Her expertise includes the design and implementation of comprehensive leadership development programs. In particular, she has curated end-to-end initiatives from assessment to development, aimed at building a robust pipeline of potential partners, ensuring alignment with the growth plan of Big Four firms. Dr. Desai also possesses extensive experience in developing programs focused on enhancing both business and behavioral skills among leaders. In addition to her work in program design, she serves as an executive and leadership coach with over 600 hours of coaching. She holds a PCC credentials from the International Coaching Federation and is Marshall Goldsmith Certified Stakeholder Centered Coach. Furthermore, Dr. Desai is an experienced assessor of leadership competencies, having evaluated more than 300 leaders across various industries. Her assessment and coaching contribute significantly to the professional development of leaders, ensuring they are well equipped to meet organizational objectives. So we have such a fantastic speaker with us, and I request Dr. Rani Desai to take over and enlighten us.
No, not enlightened. I could share my experience, but before that, I would honestly and sincerely, I would like to say my thank you to ISTD. Thank you so much, Mr. Ghak, for the invitation that you've extended to me. And I would like to say thank you to Kavita, Dr. Kavita Pandey as well, and the whole team and the committee of ISTD for having accepted my profile to come and share my experiences in your learning series that you have every fortnight. And the topic, I was given the freedom of choosing the topic to say that I could pick up a topic and I could talk about it. And I thought I would pick up on something on this topic of behavioral event interviewing and share a couple of conceptual frameworks and to say how is it relevant for all of us across different industries, across different organizations, and try and see what do we want, what do we say, or what is it that behavioral event interviewing means. And I have a small presentation out here. I'll also share the PPT that I have got here. And starting with the fundamentals of BEI, I would like to start with. Yeah. And let me see, where do I do the share? Yes, I have the sharing here. All right. Is my screen visible to all?
Yes, it is.
It is. Good. Let me just take this. All right. And let me expand it. So this is a little bit about me. So I call my firm as It's About You. And why do I say it's about you? I say that because the work that I do or the work I'm doing is all for people, is for my clients, is for the individuals that I work with. And therefore I say it's about you. The every opportunity for me is to say that I work with you and I go by what you want or you want to do, and work with you as a partner in this whole journey. And therefore, I've called my firm as It's About You. Now, in today's the 90 or 80 odd minutes that we will spend, we will touch upon the basics of the behavioral event interviewing as a technique, as a skill. One word that I would like to mention here is that very, very appropriately in organizations, one uses BEI along with the competency framework of the organizations in order to assess as to how a particular person would fit into the competencies of the organization. However, I will not be going into competency because here it would be, this is a very multiple participants that we have here. And each one of you would be having your own set of competencies in your organization. But we will look at the broader framework and get to understand some of the basic concepts as to what goes into it and what is it that we are trying to do in a BEI. And then it would be possibly it would be easy for you to apply it into your own competency framework as well. So let us look at these three words. We are talking about behavioral, behavior, we are talking about events, and we are talking about interview. So when we talk about behavior, what is that basic principle that we look at? So we say that the past behaviors are best predictors of future behaviors. And in here, when we are looking at a person and when we meet a person, typically our commonest understanding of utilizing BEI is in the hiring process. Am I right? That's what most of us say. What is this? Meeting is transcribed. Okay. So it would be nice if I can hear some responses also. So it also gives me a feel that yes, that we are on the same page. So most of us think that it is only to be used at the hiring phase. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. I mean,
yeah.
Most of the time, that's where we use it.
That's where
though it can be used like most times
right.
it is used.
Yes.
Either it's used for hiring or either it is to move that person to a promotion or a different roles. That's where these things come into effect most of the time.
Very nice. Yeah. So we are also now broadening the scope of the BEI when we are saying that we are looking at the person and at the time of the promotion. Now, when we look at the, why is this not moving? 1 second. Yeah. Okay. Now, this is a question that I have. Is it only for hiring or there is a larger purpose? And one of the purpose we said was it is also at the time of when we are looking at a person for moving into the higher role. Yet here there is something that I would like you all to think about and see at the hiring stage itself, what is it that we are hiring a person for? Are we hiring a person for a particular role, or are we looking at the person with a future in mind? And this is where I'll just slightly stop the presentation here. And this is where I would like a little bit of a discussion and a debate around it as to typically what is it that we look for? Is it only when, what is that larger purpose?
I think it could be for both, you know.
Yeah. Hello? Yeah, it could be for both. However, I don't know, there is an echo coming. Maybe the phone is closer to the laptop, or okay. Is my voice okay?
Yes, your
Hello?
voice is okay.
Okay, there is, yeah. So the thing is that BEI, when we are bringing that into our organization, the first and foremost, conceptually, it has to be accepted as an organization's culture, the way the organization does a thing. That BEI is a part of an organization. That's the first starting point. The second starting point is that it's not just for hiring at that particular point in time, but it is also keeping in mind that is this person my future leader? Number three is that when we are looking at the behavior, and we said past behavior becomes predictors for the future. But this behavior that a person brings with oneself, is it mapping into the organization? Is the person's behavior, is the screen visible? No, the screen is not visible because I have stopped sharing right now and having just a kind of a dialogue. So these are this dialogue and conversation. I like to make it always interactive and never really, I don't really really enjoy this kind of presentations, which is, but interactive ones where, because one can share ideas, one can bring forth the ideas. And so my request is also to make it interactive. So when we talk of this behavior, is this behavior of a person that we are trying to gauge, is it for the current role? Is it keeping in mind, because the pressures of the talent on the talent acquisition people and the HR is also very high to say we want a person, we want to get a person. And in that trust, somewhere we miss out on this main concept, this main point of whether the person is rightly suited for our organization. And therefore, I'm stressing this point and having this conversation and spending a few minutes to say that come what may, as the specialist of human behaviors, as specialist as human capital, we have to engage, enforce, and reinforce this concept, this idea and thought within the organization to say that we need to look at the person in a holistic manner rather than just trying to meet with a position that needs to be filled in. And this is where I'm coming from, that the larger purpose. How many of us, or how many of the leaders, really think in terms of saying that I'm looking at this person who is my tomorrow's, after 3 years, I look at him at a senior level. And these are the triggers that one needs to start triggering within the organization. When this happens, that is the time when the behavior event interviewing becomes successful for an organization and for us as professionals. If not, it remains as one of the things to be done and to fill in the positions. For filling in the positions, one doesn't need BEI. It is just needing, you come, interviewed, fine, and go. But when we talk of BEI, it has to be institutionalized with a purpose in mind. And the larger purpose is to build leaders for the organization and for the sustainability of the organization. And hence, that is where the BEI becomes useful. I will again now start sharing the screen. And let us start looking at some of the practices. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, what are a few of the experiences? Now, when we look at some of the organizations like Facebook, so they shifted their interviews towards behavioral problem solving and adaptability. And their experience showed that 90%, more than 90% was the retention rate. Also, they were able to assess the cultural fit and the competency alignment of the participants. Same is true with Infosys and Wipro, Unilever. Mahindra and Mahindra also, like Anita rightly mentioned, Mahindra and Mahindra also used it for at the time of the movement from in the promotion at a point in time. And I was at a point in time with Mahindra and Mahindra. Similarly, we use this in the big four that I worked for typically at the time of the promotions. And also used in IT, one of the organizations that I worked, we used BEI very heavily out there. And interestingly, it so happened that I was the regional HR, I was the HR head for India operations. And we needed a very, very senior person to lead a particular business vertical. And this was a panel interview. This person was going through the final round of interview. There was the CEO, there was the director, there was the other peer colleague, vertical head, and there was also somebody from corporate. We had the corporate business vertical head, one of the businesses head also joining into the panel. And this was a final interview going on. But as we started probing, technically fine, business fine, the targets were fine, numbers were fine, the business knowledge was good, knowledge of the global world was good, everything was good. But when we started asking questions and there was more questions that came, one realized suddenly towards almost the end that this person had had a very kind of a negative personal background, and that came out and with the tendencies of being abusive. So this happened or this came up because we started getting more into the behavioral aspects and asking questions about the person as to how the person is thinking, what is the approach, and we'll come to that part a little later. But these are some of the benefits that the organizations have seen from the BEI being adopted as a way of life. Any questions so far? Is the concept, this is just setting up the framework. Any questions so far? This is just the context setting that we are doing. Okay. So what is the basic principle we said? And so what is behavioral interviewing all about? So it is all about uncovering the candidate's past performance by gathering detailed accounts of real events and professional experiences. And this BEI was developed by David McClelland. And how do we do so? We do so through evidences of experiences on personal life experience, examples, understanding how the individual has handled the situations, and what is the thinking process, and that can become the indicators of how one can perform in future. Any experiences that anyone can share, whether you or do you agree with this? Do you agree with this approach? I mean, you can feel free. We are a very small group. So this is more like a master class. There are no right and wrong answers. It's just about one's own experience that one would like to hear.
Yeah, so I'll go because I kind of interview a lot of leaders from the industry when we're looking at leadership roles. And we not only just interview them, we also do an exploratory roles for them to see that whether they fit what we are looking for them for. Because being from a pharma industry, we find very few people who are actually the leaders that they are. So when you look at the culture of this organization to their organization, we kind of interview them. So their past behaviors kind of help me to understand where has been their struggle, where, you know, when I look at their successes, when I look at their, you know, their failures, how have they come across, what has been their resilience, all that come across from their experiences that I see. So yeah, I do believe that a lot of it can come from when we start interviewing them. But also, I also believe that when you start interviewing them, it cannot be a 1 hour interview. It has to be somewhere you have to go a little more deeper. Especially when you're doing a BEI, I think it has to be far more deeper, because sometimes 45 minutes to 1 hour, you can't gauge the person at all. Even if I have the best of resumes in front of me, I did find that a 1 hour may not be enough for us to gauge that person. Hence, what we try and do is that we have exploratory conversations with number of people to see that all of us do have, you know, certain commonalities that come together to help us to bring that person to, you know, to a conclusion. Is the person fit or not? But I do believe that this helps.
So thank you for sharing that experience, Anita. Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else who would like to share an experience? Okay, I think we'll move ahead. So,
Hello?
yeah, Sushila.
Yeah, actually, I have a different take on this. Uh, I mean, we come from the field of education, and when you say that you are interviewing on the basis of past experiences, I strongly feel then you are taking these past experiences as a constant. While we in education, we think about, changes. So it's quite possible that a person may accept that the past experience was wrong and the person may change. For example, we hire teachers. So, we see a lot of changes. So based on past experience, I don't know, that's my this is some
Good.
completely new to me, this what you're speaking,
Okay.
and
So,
therefore this is
Sushila,
just a
no, Sushila, I think no, what you say is very right. Now, when we talk of past experiences, what are we really trying to do? And what is the kind of questioning that one goes into it? Now, when you're in education sector, so you would look at the adaptability of the person, right? You would look at how flexible the person is, how person is open to new thinking and the new generations that are coming in. Am I right, Sushila? Yeah, these are the things you would look for, right? Sushila?
yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah,
Actually, I have
okay.
some problem with my laptop, so I'm
No
just
worries,
moving
no
from
worries,
room to room.
no worries, no worries. You can even put it in the chat, yeah?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when we are looking at it, and when we say past experiences, we will come into a little more deep dive. That's the next level of deep dive that we'll go into. And that is what will be the techniques and to say, how will you justify or how will you validate what you want from a teacher or from any leader going forward, right? So we'll come to the next phase of it.
Okay.
And for that, but I'm glad you're raising this, you're bringing up these, these points of discussions, which supports learnings for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. So primarily what we are saying is that what is this behavior that we are referring to? What is it that we are trying to say? It is each individual, each human being is a bundle of one's own beliefs, upbringing, some of the factors that one has experienced and created some kind of biases, some kind of points of view, some as what we call as wired, wiring in the brain that takes place. And that is what leads the person to do what the person is doing. The outcome of a person's behavior is a result of all that the person has gone through in the past. In some cases, like let me give you, this is a very you all have heard about of Dale Carnegie, right? Now Dale Carnegie in his book gives an example of twin brothers. Hmm? Twin brothers whose mother had died when they were very young. They were raised by the father. The father was very abusive. He would beat them up. He was a drunkard. And both of them literally took care of themselves and they grew up. One brother grew up to become a police. The second one grew up to become a criminal. And when both the brothers were asked how you both were raised in the similar environment under the similar father, how is it that you became a police and you became a criminal? The guy was a police. He said, look, I learned from my father what I should not be doing and what is not right. The criminal said that I'd become the world is so much against me, and my father taught me how cruel the world is, and I became a criminal. So it's all about how how the experiences impact us, and ultimately, when that product of the society comes into our organization, what is it that we look for, and how do we look for? Because there is and excuse me for calling this as a product. I don't mean to disrespect a human being, but here this is an outcome of a societal impact that a human being comes to the organization. The organization which is into a particular business service into the business has certain set of ecosystem which is laid on the foundation of the values, ethics, the governances, competencies, and the whole ecosystem of the business. And how will that person fit in? This, in very short, is what we are trying to map and see, which is why when we do that, this is about understanding the behavior, and the attitude becomes very important factor. And here there is this, we all have heard of Freud, right? And Freud has come out with the theory, iceberg theory, and he has talked about conscious, pre-conscious, unconscious layers in the mind. There is a very nice book by one Dr. Joseph Murray, and he has written a book called as Power of Subconscious Mind. And what he says is any experience that we are getting goes into our frontal cortex, and frontal cortex processes it, and it goes into the subconscious mind, which is like the folders and the files. So if you look at our own laptop, in the laptop we have created the folders. What gets processed on the screen, we save it and we put it in the folder. And as and when the experiences or any circumstances or situations come, these experiences come from our subconscious mind, and that's when we respond and we react, and we react or respond, and that is how the human mind behaves. At the same time, Dr. Murray says that the subconscious mind does not have the power of processing the logic, illogic, ethical, unethical, nothing. All that has already happened in the prefrontal cortex. And why does this become important for us to understand? Little bit of it, not into greater details, but just to know how does our brain work? How is the brain wired? It becomes important for us to know, because that when we are meeting a particular person, a future leader or a candidate who is a future potential leader, we have to be very cognizant of the fact that what is it that is gone in that brain at the unconscious level or the subconscious level, and how the person is processing the whole approach. What is that approach? So when we talk of competency, we talk about knowledge, skill, and the attitude. Attitude not as to say, oh, this is the attitude, but an attitude as to what is the approach. Okay. So now, what are the tools we have with us? Okay. My screen is clear, right? Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. My screen is visible. Okay. So what are the tools that we have when we are doing the behavioral event interviewing? So there is, if can I request to be on the mute, please? So we have talked about the first part of the behavior. So the behavior, if we have to concise it, the behavior is something that we need to understand how the human behavior brain behaves, um, how what is it that goes into making of a person when the person comes in, what are those values, what are those ethics, how is it going to match and uh, uh, match with our organization's ecosystem. And that is the behavior part that we need to be aware of. I will take a pause here and ask you if there are any questions.
Yes, ma'am. One question.
Yeah.
I'm actually a student, so I just had one student side of the question. You earlier mentioned that while interviewing, you also have to take into consideration whether a person's behavior is mapping with the entire organization's culture and behavior. How would someone on the other side actually understand whether he will or she will be eligible to map themselves on that front?
Okay, Ayush, my take on this is that whenever and see, let me put it this way. And you're a student, right?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Kavita ma'am's student.
So, Ayush, let me take a very small example. When you take a decision to go and watch a movie in a theater, what are the things you take into account?
Well, how close the theater is and the movie in question, what I'm interested in, is it screening on there or not? And the timing availability for tickets.
What else? You would look at the story or the director or the actors therein, right?
Yes, yes,
So, you would do your homework of the organization, correct? For
yes, ma'am.
example, I will not name the organization. It would not be right on my part. But when I was into the career and any calls that would come from any executive search firm for a particular organization, which was very large group of companies, I would also say, I would go back and say, I'm sorry, but I would not be interested in this organization because my values, I don't think my values will match with this organization.
Okay.
What is the branding of the organization? What is a, for example, in fact, I was reading a very interesting article halfway through, like why is it that the moment we say Tata and everybody says it's trust?
They have built it over years, and when
And
their employees speak
there
highly
are
of them.
very, there are many organizations who are possibly, they've been there equally with the same age of Tatas. But the moment you say Tatas, you feel very good about it. And even when something goes wrong in any of one of the Tata organizations, one says, but how can that happen in Tatas? It can't. Maybe something is wrong. Whilst in case of some organizations, you may say, oh my God, that organization, there are so many. I mean, one would not go. So that's how from the other side of the table, you are able to match the culture, values, depending on your homework that you do of the organization and the kind of news, the information that is available. The leaderships, the leaders also talk a lot, who to take over the positions. So that's how you see from other side of the table. Does it answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is where the first part of the behavior, I'm again reinforcing, it becomes very important for us as professionals to understand what goes into the behavior of a person, whoever steps into the organization. Any questions? Any questions here? Before we move to the next part of event. Okay. Sushila?
Yes,
Yeah.
Satyamlal.
Yeah,
Rani
man.
ma'am, Matthew here. Just as see, I have only one question. So, as a human being, we are continuously evolving. Okay. So, is it okay to say that past performance guarantees future performance? And if not, then what should be the yardstick that we should, uh,
See,
uh, yeah.
this, you, because Matthew, we are talking about human beings. Many factors affect and impact the human behaviors. We can't see the future of the person, correct? how this person will work in future.
Correct.
But
Correct.
these, therefore, they become predictive indicators. They become predictive indicators.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
for generations together, for 500 and 600 years, if the, or you know, the simple example, and I like to take simple examples, which are homemade example also. A tadka always remains a tadka. You put oil and you put jeera or you put rai, and that is the base for your tadka. But there is a future, that future it will evolve. Maybe they may put some other ingredient, but for a human behavior, to say how this, today, even I, at this age, I don't know how I will behave at the age of 70. What would have happened to me when I'm 70?
Correct.
But
Correct.
yeah, so because we're talking about the past behavior, the indicators to say, how has this person responded? How has this person reacted? How has this person taken situations or the situations in hand and handled them in the time of crisis? And those, therefore, we say they become predictive indicators.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Because that's the only thing that we have in our hand as of now, correct? Okay?
Absolutely, yes.
So, therefore, but we need to be aware of the behavior part of it. What goes into the behavior? Huh? So, now we will come to the event. Okay, what is that event? Event and interviewing.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah,
Yeah, madam.
please go ahead.
Hmm.
Sorry, shall I go ahead?
Yeah, yes, madam. Yes.
Okay, okay. I thought it was okay. So I have referred to two small, very basic things here. There are multiple, but very important one. These are very important. One is listening. Second is the power of questioning. Trust me, the more and more you hone this technique of questioning, power of questioning, it becomes an absolute, what you say, it keeps unraveling so many unexplored terrains of a behavior in the person. And when I'm saying question, I'm not saying I will question what you're doing, I will oppose what you're saying, but here the various types of questioning, especially the probing, open-ended questions to say, how did you handle a situation? What happened in that situation? What was your role? One of the important elements, and I always say this to the participants, when I'm doing a leadership assessment, or when I was in talent, when I would be into interviewing for talent hiring, I would always say to the individual that please say, I did this. My role was this. My responsibility was this. I was accountability to this outcome. And and why I'm saying this is because natural tendency of anybody and even us is to say we did this and we did that. But then here it is about understanding the person, curiosity to know the person as is. And hence, this is one small uh, suggestion to you to say, please make it a point to say, please tell me with I what did this. I led this. What was your role in that project that you handled? Were you a doer? Were you a coordinator? Were you a supporter? Or were you just a coder, a technical expertise that you had? So these become the questioning part and probing one after other, one after other, one after other becomes very important. And questioning as an art of questioning is a beautiful science to get in. It is a science. The second is listening. How often do we really listen? Or many times we like to listen what we like to hear. So important words, listening, absorbing, and processing it continuously. It's a continuous churn. Continuous churn when you're listening, supported by questioning. Anybody would like to share any of their experience here on the questioning? Would anybody like to share? Those, especially those in the talent acquisition?
I think I would be the only one in talent acquisition.
Even in HR, right? If the HR specialist.
Ma'am, Melvin, yeah.
Yeah.
See, generally, as far as questioning is concerned, I generally, whenever a candidate comes to me, my general tendency is that, hey, I want to select this candidate. I go with that mentality. And just by, virtue of questioning them, I obviously, when I start my interviewing, I start with giving them a small synopsis of what my expectations are, so that they are comfortable enough of answering me in the way I am supposed to hear. And then once they start speaking, then you come to a question and make them comfortable, and then you get into the nitty gritties of it, and then by virtue of those answers that come, then the elimination starts. So that's how I generally take my interviews. Because unlike now I belong to a facility management industry. Now this is unlike an IT industry, this is a very niche industry. It was not even considered as an industry maybe a couple of years back. So the people who've been in this industry are all people who have risen from those segments, and it is very difficult to get an ideal, to do these kind of interventions done, So typically the segments that you get is you have to take the best out of what you have, and that is where these kind of questions comes into play. So for me, those questioning, it starts with that option where I have to select and let me see what best I can get out of them, because whenever or whoever I'm selecting into my organization, my expectation is that person would be with me for the next 5 years, so at least minimum. So that 5 years cannot be a headache for me at a later date. I would rather get somebody who will be able to gel. Again, the fact is, today when I'm selecting a candidate, I know the managers for whom I'm going to select this person. So that also plays a major part. I might get an excellent person, but if I know this person is going to report into a certain person with whom the dynamics won't work, then it's a waste of my time. So that's where I have to think.
So Melvin, there were two things you said. One you said is that I would like the person to be with the organization for at least 5 years.
Yes.
Yeah. So which means you want to look at a person as a future leader also. Because definitely all said and done, though it is a facility management industry sector, you would still have a hierarchy in your system.
That's true, ma'am.
Right.
Yeah.
And so one is on that. Now, the second thing you say is that I will also check whether the person will match with the manager with the person is supposed to working with. And if that person, you think the person may not be able to work with that person, you drop him. Am I right?
Yes. I mean, it's not exactly a drop. Then my next thing would be, where else can, if the candidate is actually very good, my next thing is see where I could possibly accommodate this person. Maybe not under this manager. When people come, they come with multiple skills. So maybe I have interviewed him for a particular uh, role at that particular point of time, but I know it's always remains in my database that, okay, I had met this person maybe couple of weeks back, couple of months back, and and whenever something else comes in wherein I feel this person would suit, I can always go back to that person.
Good. So Melvin, important element in your industry especially is things like values, code of conduct, ethics,
Yes.
integrity.
Very much.
How do you assess them then?
Very difficult to assess them in the first couple of meetings, and 1 hour 45 minutes is too short a time to even evaluate those. The only way I can do is when I start speaking to them and I get to understand their past experiences, that is where the filtering happens. And again, interviewing, and when somebody says, as you said, people would say that I have done this, I have done that. It's easy to say that I have done this, I have done that, but at that moment of time, at that particular point in time, there is no way an interview can even evaluate whether what he's saying is right or wrong.
So here it is, Melvin. This is where the event comes in. We were at the first point of listening and questioning.
Yeah.
Look at what, What you're saying is that I need to look at, I look at the future leaders. Is somebody's mic on? I hear some hissing noise, which is quite distracting. Okay. So you're saying that I look at the future leaders. I do look at the personality to match with the manager concerned. Now you're saying that, but how can I determine whether the person's ethics, values, etc. is right or wrong, or how can I assess them? Melvin, this is where the behavioral event interviewing technique helps you. So the
Okay.
next level. So there are various ways to do it. One is then what can be the way? Can you put across, like, I don't know if you saw that slide, but Facebook, or not Facebook, I think there's Slate. They also ask case studies. There are certain case studies given. Case scenarios are presented. How would you react to this scenario? How will you react to this scenario? What would be your approach? What did you do if you would be having a repository of certain experiences that has gone in the organization, in your company? What
True.
if you present those scenarios and say, how would you react if this is a case? What would be your approach? Or for example, if it's a facility, there is a, and I'm just taking an example, I don't know, I'm just saying, if it is a service apartment, if there is a fire, there is a short circuit, what are the things that you would do? How have you approached it in past? And there are guests who are staying there. What would be your first reactions? What are you trying to do here? You're trying to gauge how the person will react in crisis. What are the risk-taking abilities? That would be one of the competency possibly. What are the safety measures the person has already taken as the caretaker of that premises? Will you not get these indicators?
Ideally, yes. Because, ma'am, what you're talking about is ideal textbook answers. Um, Anybody getting into a facility industry at that time, it is expected that this is what they're supposed to do. There's a B, C, D, E process which they need to follow.
No, the
It's only,
question,
yeah. So
Melvin,
yeah,
the difference is in asking those pointed questions to say, how did you face this situation? How did
correct.
you react? What was that crisis? If not anything, a hypothetical case, there is a road accident that takes place. What is it that
We,
you will do? Have you done this in past? When you did this in past, how did you act? What are the steps you took? Because what are we saying? In behavioral event interviewing, past indicators are your predictions for the future behaviors. But if you don't ask those past questions itself, how will you get the behavioral indicators for future? Then you're doing, then you're not really looking at creating a leader, creating an organization. You are saying, I have a position and I want to fill in the position.
Mhm.
Then it's matching and mapping. Nobody is here to say right or wrong, Melvin. There is a position, there is a person. He is good, he looks good, he is well groomed, he has worked with good organizations, he has come here. You want to fill in a position, you have filled in the position. But if you want to create leaders, like what you said, then you have to get into the past. You have to go through certain examples, experiences. Talk about even the experiences in personal, like to say, how was your school days? What were your college days? What were some of the crises and challenges you faced? How did you
Okay.
overcome the problems? Why were you a school? Why were you a college dropout? What were the pressing needs? Who were your friends? What did your friend circle say? How do you spend your time, your pastime? Who's your mentor? Who's your role model? In one of the cases, if this person was talking very high, very, very senior leader in marketing. And I asked, which is the latest book you have read on marketing? But there was no answer. Many a times people get into their comfort zones.
That's true.
So definitely, when you go into deeper and deeper into a person, unraveling like peeling an onion, you find many of the things which come out as person's personality.
Okay.
But yes, you want to fit a person into a position. I mean, that is a choice you are making. One is not saying right or wrong, but here, if you want to understand a person deeply, one is you need to understand how the behavior works. What are the things that go into a person as a human being? What are those questioning, listening, and further probing into the person that can lead you to the path?
Okay.
If there is a break, there was a break. Why? I was into depression. What was the reason for depression? How did you overcome? What were the options you worked upon? I was not getting a job. What were the options that you chose? What are the efforts you put in? Whom did you consult? Whom did you talk to? This happens many a time, especially when one is talking to business guys or salespeople. Are you networked? But you know your industry better. You know the turnover. What I understand in some of the industries, especially the what you say the recent industries like cloud kitchens, etc. The attrition is something like 40%, 35, 40%. So then you're only looking at filling in the positions and not really. Then it's building an organization versus filling a position.
I agree, ma'am. That's always a catch 22.
Correct. That's the reality. But one should, as professionals, we should be looking at building the organization for future.
I agree.
Okay. But yes, but there are I will not say, Melvin, that this is the right way and this is the wrong way. I will not say that. Okay. Yes, maybe at very senior levels, you could look at really getting deeper because that senior most person is going to build the organization.
Right, ma'am.
Okay, this is my take on it. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay. Then let's move further. So before we move further, I want to ask, is this conceptually, is it okay? Is everyone on the same page? Yeah. The ones who are quiet,
Yes.
who said yes? I'm not able to see the name because
Me,
I'm
ma'am.
going. Okay, all right, fine. So actually I do take workshops on BEI for 1 day or 1.5 day with lot of deep down exercises aligned with the competency framework of the organization with lot of practice and the role plays. But here I'm just trying to bring in the best in the time that is available to us. And this is one of the very favorite ones of mine, which is art of inquiry. We talked about questioning and going deeper into the probing questions, open-ended questions, questions which trigger some thoughts, listening and listening, absorbing, and again processing what the person is trying to say. In that context, one of the important element is also paraphrasing. To say, if I heard you right, I'm just paraphrasing and putting across this sentence. Is this what you meant? Because that gives a realignment, or it's like, the GPS map which says recenter, recentering, and then taking the conversation forward. In the art of inquiry, it is one level deeper than the questioning part. In here, what comes in is a deep level of curiosity. The more curious you are about the understanding the human person, the curiosity is not about anything. The curiosity is about understanding the person from what? One, from the point of view of the suitability for the organization. Second, from the point of view of suitability from the organization's values, ethics, from that perspective. Third, suitability in terms of saying that, is this person really going to work or will be able to work with the stakeholders. And fourth is this person aware of the environment ecosystem beyond the office or beyond the organizations? So there are multiple factors that and then you could add to that list. I'm just naming 4. You could have 5, you could have 6, 7, whatever that number is. But when you're doing that, when you're looking at the person, it is a 360-degree mapping that you're doing through art of inquiry, which is first point is curious. Curiosity to say, is the person mapping here, mapping here, mapping here? And asking those probing questions to say, how did you handle, who are your stakeholders? What are the challenges you face with the stakeholders? Now, this is especially very true when one is working in a matrix organization or with multiple functions. Open-ended explorations. To say open-ended questions, explorations, again with paraphrasing, to say what was that crisis that you faced? What was the challenges that came in there? When did this happen? Also keep looking for the time frame. The 5 W's and the 1 H are the best friends that you have. What was the reaction of your stakeholders? How did there's somebody else come. How did you manage a particular situation? These are the various questions that you need to keep asking, developing, and building a dialogue. One second. Building a dialogue with the person, not with the intent of knowing whether the person is right or wrong or good or bad, but purely with the intent of knowing how is this person going to fit into my organization, because whatever, irrespective of the level that you're interviewing, this person is my future leader, because the organization has to be a sustainable organization. We are here to build sustainable organizations also. Uncovering the unsaid and listening very, very, very deeply. Each question builds on the response, and to unearth and pick up the thread and keep going deeper and deeper, turning those conversations into collaborative explorations. A good dialogue, they say, a good conversation is 20% talking, 80% listening. But that 20% has got to be very, very powerful. Making the notes also. Many a times you will find the person is drifting, bringing back the person to say, this is very interesting what you're saying. However, for paucity of time, I would also like you to come back on the example you were sharing and continue. So bringing back, re-anchoring is also a part of the conversation that you have with the person. To give you a small example, when I'm doing the assessments or development centers, before the BEI conversation starts, one starts by giving and setting certain, feelers to say that, look, we will be spending this time in this conversation. I would like to know more about you as a person. What would be very helpful is examples which you narrate and you quote as I did this. One wants to know the role that you played, what you were accountable for, what are your challenges, what were your failures, what were your success stories, what were the learnings out of the failures. And also, in case if I find you kind of deep diving into a particular thing or drifting, I will pull you back. The reason being because I want to understand more of you. So these kind of context settings are very, very important when in a BEI, when you start off the conversation. Any questions so far? Any questions on this one? Including questions to say on the emotions part. How did you feel? When there was a success, how did you feel? When there was a failure, how did you tackle the failure? What were some of those embarrassing moments? How did you face your team? How did you face your stakeholders? I mean, there are examples in my own career also when I had really bad failures. But how did I deal with them? How did I overcome them? So those are the questions when you ask, because the idea in a BI is to know the person and know vis-a-vis the organization that we are working for. Any questions? I want to take a pause here.
Ma'am, how to avoid the failures directly in the art of inquiry?
How to avoid failures?
Means if you are talking from the perspective of organization, and if you are means some person who has not succeeded his failures and has become a dark spot in his past, so how to avoid it in the questioning?
Now here, are you going as a candidate?
Yes, ma'am, candidate.
Don't avoid them. Subodh, don't avoid. See, when we talk of a person, what makes a person? Successes and failures also. Unfortunately, we think failures are bad, but failures are not bad. Failures are good because most of the most successful stories come out of failures. Abraham Lincoln's story, if you read, he had 21 failures in his life before he became the president of America. Look at the story, I think, of was it Hrithik Roshan, who used to stammer and stutter, but he became a biggest hero. Why is failure bad, Subodh? From failures, if you have learned something and in the next time you have not repeated it, it is your success. So be proud of the fact. But if you keep repeating those failures, then something is something you need to think about. Introspect, Subodh. You need not be, or you need not talk about it openly. But if you're repeating and repeatedly there are failures coming your way, then please, I think you need to think about it. You need to introspect and turn them into your successes. How can you overcome them? Is there anything, is there something else that you have in mind, Subodh?
No, ma'am.
No? Are you sure? You
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
ask? Uh, okay. Okay. Fine. Yeah, somebody had raised the hand, right?
Yes, ma'am, it was me, Ayush, once again.
Yes.
Ma'am, regarding like building on the failure aspect of it, let's say the failure in question was quite recent in nature and it is still having some kind of toll on one's emotion and they are still again appearing for another round of interview. This is from the candidate's point of view. So how should he take into control and will like on the other end will the corporate also take into consideration that he has faced this failure, he is being honest about it, and that toll is still on him, like he's bearing the burden. So how to as a candidate navigate through that as well? I ace the interview or I clear it.
Can you narrate an example of it?
Ma'am, like for example, I mean, quite recently this happened. He and my team we went for an interview, and all of us were not selected on that interview panel because we were not fit for the company's profile, and it took kind of a toll on us that we were like, how can we be this rubbish on that front? Now we are
Okay,
trying
okay,
to
okay,
go
okay.
to
Okay, okay.
like
Okay, got it. I don't think that's a failure, okay? And I'm sure here there are so many of the HR professionals also, talent acquisition person also. And I mean, I would request you all to also add on. So when you are not selected in an organization, I, overcome this thought to say that I am not suitable. I'm not something is wrong with me, and therefore I didn't get selected. The reasons for not getting selected could be multifold because the organization may be looking for some things very, very specific. And if that particular specific is not seen as learned or something, they may say sorry. But it doesn't mean that you are a bad candidate. Please overcome that.
okay, ma'am, thank you.
Please overcome that, Ayush. Don't carry
Okay,
that with
ma'am.
you. It's okay.
Because
Maybe,
it kind of like made us a little bit restless and fidgety,
I,
so we were like, so we were like in next interview once again take the same energy So then again, the entire aspect of it.
Please tell your friends as well that it may be that there's a mismatch between the profiles and the skill sets and the competencies that you all have vis-a-vis the organization is looking for, and that could be the reason. Nothing to do with you as an individual. Okay, please tell that to your
Also,
friends
I'd
as
like
Okay,
to
ma'am.
add here is that
yes,
when you,
Anita.
yeah, so we kind of interview freshers almost every time. You also need to understand that when you're interviewing so many people, there is only one or two that you can take at any given point in time. So you tend to choose what is the best of best what you think, okay, at that point in time. And that does not mean that everybody is not good, and I often tell that to all the candidates that at that particular instant what we thought was the good one we took, but that does not mean that everyone is bad. Nobody is bad, everybody is good, and everybody has skills, but maybe somebody's skills was a little better than and came forth better than the person who got interviewed. So, and that is why we are very mindful that when somebody is getting rejected, we kind of give them a rationalization that vis-a-vis the others, you were found wanting. It's not that you were bad. At that point, because all interviews, everybody kind of want to perform very well, and I do know that they all strive to perform very well. However, there must be one or two kind of strive much better at that point in time, and that day, on that day, you might not be the better candidate then, but there are always other opportunities where you kind of do much better than the others. So it's the time and space that everybody gets, but I don't believe that any candidate is bad, because they all come with a certain criteria. They are shortlisted after a certain round of so assessment. So I don't think anybody, and I don't think you should feel bad about it either. But it is at that it's time and space at that point in time. So that's what I wanted to say, because we kind of interview, and I do understand, especially when it is freshers and when they come from campus, they come with so much of emotions that all of them want to get selected. But that may not be, because as an organization, we might have only one or two positions that we can fill, and then we try and do at what is best for the organization.
Sure. Thank you so much for that, Anita. So
Thank you,
hope
ma'am.
that answers your questions, Ayush. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, it does.
And
Thank you.
so we have looked at B as a behavior, and a lot of emphasis has been also laid out there. We have looked at E, event interviewing, and we looked at two things where we talked of listening, we talked of questioning, and the art of inquiry, which is a deeper down questioning and probing. At the same time, what is very critical and important is what is it that what we need to be aware of, and some of the pitfalls that we need to be aware of for ourselves. In here, there has got to be an increased self-awareness, increased level of awareness about ourselves, which means what are my biases? Are my biases coming in the way? Are my some of the prejudices or beliefs coming in the way? That is something that we really need to be aware of. Introspect on some of our personal biases and rewire our biases. Let me give you an example here. Even simple things like, in my earlier days, when I had started my career and so forth, for years together, the feeling, the bias was that those students who are children of whose parents are teachers are very, very good candidates because the ethics values are all very high. Other belief was that those who come from slightly economically impacted are very, very good conscious workers. Workers in the sense, not workers as such, but they work very conscious and very good, um, positively contributing people. But in my own experience, I had a failure there. So one person whom I had engaged, who had taken my team, coming from a very challenged kind of a background, he had come up very hard way, proved to be an absolutely excellent person, contributor, great, excellent performer. But the same logic, when another person was taken, hired, again in my team, turned out to be very leisurely, casual, not very serious about the job. So some of these beliefs, biases, I think we should overcome them. And that was a learning for me. Uh, and we should go more objectively to say, how is the person going to be? What is the person's approach and attitude towards life, attitude to working? And deep, and that was a lesson that had come to me. Another practice I would always have, and I always continued to have, was whichever hires I had done or where I was actively engaged and involved, I would always monitor the performance of those people. I would keep a check. I would talk to the manager. I would assess the person, look at the performance ratings. Even for about 3 years, I would keep a track to say how is the person doing, because that also gave a kind of a benchmark to say, have I done the right thing in the hiring of the person? Have I done in the talent acquisition and in building certain talent pool or human capital management, or how is, or what, is there something I need to change slightly? So these are some of the practices that we need to build in. Even in an objective manner, structured way, you can do that and build it as a practice. Most important and of all, and many a times where we fall short, is not understanding the business of the organization. And this is true at even at very senior levels. I've seen, I've mentored certain in the HR leaders also. I mentored them also, because and the lack of understanding of how the business runs, how the money, how the profits come, how the expenses happen, what the potentials, or how the business are grown, what are those organizational goals, what is happening in the world outside, what are the what is that field or sector that we are in. Lack of industry knowledge is something that is, if that is there, we will never grow, or never will we be contributors um, to the organization's sustainability and growth. We will remain where we are, just hiring people. But our intention is to grow, to develop and build a sustainable organization, for which understanding of the business, deep dive into it, being really a partner to the business, is what we need to be engaged in and understand. And equally important is understanding the organization competencies. It's very strange that many times when I ask the HR folks, what are the competencies of your organization? And they fail to understand or fail to explain what they are. But if the organization or competencies, why are they built? What are these competencies of the organization? Because every organization says that we believe in certain competencies, and we also believe that when these competencies exist in the organization, our organization will grow, which is why these competency frameworks are built. And important also, it is so important to understand, not just understand, but to read them and understand every word of the competency, and then map our interviews to those competencies by asking those questions, and greater insights keep coming our way with respect to the candidate. Just 2 months ago, 7 weeks ago, I did this workshop on the BEI for one of the group companies. And when I took them through the competency framework, these were leaders from the business, as well as there were some HR folks. And when I took them through the competency framework, reading it and trying to see what is the meaning of it, they themselves came back and they said that we had never read them in such deep, with so much of um, in such a detailed manner. And then when they started doing the role play over a period of time between the the next BEI role play went off far better. So it's very important for us to grow. We have to focus on ourselves as well and be aware of the business competencies ourselves, bring in more awareness about ourselves and work on our own biases and prejudices and beliefs. This is when the BEI will become successful. Any questions? We have another 5 minutes to go. Any questions, any feedback, any clarifications? Yeah, Rupali.
Yeah, this is in continuation with what Subhit had asked to avoid talking about the failures during the interview. So, as you said, that the failure, the human being is of failures and success. Why candidates think about it is because our society has developed us in such a way that failures are something bad. So, it is very important to let this generation know that no, the failures are not bad, and it all depends on how we present our failures. It is not
Absolutely.
about how we avoid, it's about how we present. Because
Correct.
I don't know, mostly if we are talking from a corporate point of view, if we are talking from some certain projects, why you failed in that project or how it didn't successfully happen. So it's not just you, because there are different parameters which impacts the projects, the success of the projects. So it's always, I just would like to say that it's always how you present, what was your contribution to it. It's not about the success, whether the project went up to the mark, but it's more about what were your contribution to it. So it's
Correct.
more of how you present yourself instead of thinking that I went wrong somewhere, taking it as a taboo.
Yeah, thank you
That's
so much
it.
for that, Rupali, bringing it up. It's not something that's about a person. Don't take it personal. But at the same time, what one would look for is what were your learnings out of this failure? It could be a team failure, but what were the learnings out of it? One of the things is also, I personally believe, and I have followed it all my life. Wherever I went for an interview, whenever I met anybody or at any level, even if I didn't know something, I would be upfront and I would say, I don't know this. I have not handled it. But at the same time, I would also say that yes, but I have the potential to learn it. To give you an example, um, I was interviewed for the global role. I was also shortlisted. I was hired. One of the concern expressed was that I had not handled international compensation benefits. I said, yes, I've not handled it. But at the same time, I can learn it. I can definitely learn it. And I did get the role. I did get the position. I've always said this. I've always been, because, and the organization looks at it as the person I am, that very transparent, very honest, not somebody who's a faker or who talks big. So these are some of the things that come out of the behavioral event in interviewing when a person is talking or sharing the experiences. Yeah, anything else? If not,
Ma'am, I know that the topic was primarily around interviewing aspect of it, but just one question before any we like get shortlisted for an interview, we actually have to submit our CV. Are there any particular points from BEI that we can add to our CV that kind of makes the no? Okay, thank you, ma'am.
okay. Anything else, Subodh, Neeta? If not, we can sign off. Thank you very much,
Rani ma'am, thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you, ma'am. Good night.
Good night.
and
Thank you,
giving
ma'am.
such a wonderful
All right.
session to everybody. And today I would also like to thank the treasurer of ISTD Mumbai chapter.
I know, for holding the fort for you, Kavita.
Yes. That's how the mentor talks.
And it was pretty relevant. It was a very relevant topic which I could add. I believe I've added some value to it.
And there are so many takeaways which we all had. We all have when Rani ma'am talks in her very limited and wisdom words. She let you all unravel the kind of thoughts which we all waved in our mind, and she explores, give us an opportunity to explore our own thought process and take it ahead. There is a very famous proverb which is said by Benjamin Franklin, wherein he says, "Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn." Today, Rani ma'am, your session was very engaging.
Thank you so much.
You have given an opportunity to every attendee to at least open up their minds, thoughts, and expression. Even if we can see that the number of people were less, but we had a mix of attendees who attended your session. We have students, talent acquisition head, and also the ISTD learning and development professionals from a diverse domain. Increasing awareness of self is the most critical for everyone, and I agree. I'm still exploring my journey of knowing self by Rani ma'am, and being as a great mentor, she keeps on giving me lots of opportunity to open myself and asking all the questions accordingly. Today, the session was not just another learning series of ISTD Mumbai chapter, but it is a session which has given an opportunity for all of us to open our mind, and also the high order thinking, wherein the Bloom's taxonomy in our educational context setting plays a very crucial role for all of us to create the learning process and take it ahead. Thank you, ma'am, for being such a strong resource person and giving us an opportunity to explore today more. I also thank the chairman of ISTD Mumbai chapter, Uday Kak sir, the treasurer, Anita ma'am, the vice chairman, Sunil Sanas sir, and also the ex officio chairman, Panika sir, and all my MC and NC members for being very supportive and always showing their strength to us.
One second. That the academician, was it Shaktivel or Shalini? Who was that academician? I want to know if her queries have been answered.
Yes, Shaktivel, you can
Shaktivel,
open up.
Shaktivel, are your queries answered? If you are still there, Shaktivel.
Ma'am, I guess I was not the person who asked that question.
No.
Yeah, I was
no,
not the
not.
person.
I think it was Shalini. Shalini, I think, who was from the academician. Nevertheless, okay.
Okay, so with this, now we can end our
Thank you.
today's session.
Thank you.
Everybody
Thank you,
kindly
Anit.
on your camera for a group photo.
Thank you.
One second. Okay. There Ayush is.
Ayush is our MSc Finance student and
Hi,
very,
ma'am.
very creative
You
and
should-
full learning.
You should have a session on how to appear for interviews now.
It is scheduled for tomorrow.
Good.
Rani ma'am, 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm just want to in your last conversation, you just use a word with respect to these organizations. You use the word as many organizations, many HR professions don't know about their organizations. That word I missed. Can you repeat that word? Competencies. Okay. And okay. Can you elaborate in a single sentence about that? What competencies?
For example, okay, let me give an example. Competencies of different companies have different competencies. And they say that when you have these competencies that we will be able to grow our organization. Example is like customer excellence or risk taking, entrepreneurial mindset, or it could be what you say, people orientation. Those are the competencies.
Okay, ma'am.
Knowing the
Okay.
market,
Yeah. Okay, ma'am.
I think we should have your
Thank you.
offline master class, Rani ma'am. So, Anita ma'am, we will plan very soon.
Yeah. I think we
Okay.
should.
You were saying
I think
something.
I think we should. I think I know the more like I said, the more thought provoking it is, the more you can reveal more. You know, like she herself said that this cannot be done in 1 hour. It's because it is thought provoking. You know, every question that she has requires us to think back. What how do you do it, and how different are we going to do it from today onwards? You know, so it is not that you can do this in 1 hour. It does take at least a couple of hours for all of us to get into what she's really wants. I think so that way I think we can have a 1 day session or a 2 day, depending on how far you want to take it.
The case scenarios, the role plays make it
Absolutely.
more to practice. Yeah.
Ma'am, convincing Anita ma'am is a very difficult task.
Very
And I think
seriously, Kavita.
seriously, I'm saying with my experience.
Have you taken the photograph, Kavita?
1 minute, ma'am. Just a minute. Okay, so I'm clicking now. 1, 2, 3. One more time. Thank you, Rani ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank
Thanks,
you.
bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Anita ma'am, I will take the recording from
हाँ
you.
जी,
And
ठीक है.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for great support, ma'am. Thank you.
Yep. How do I switch this? Oh.
So we can stop here. Then it will go on your